Where I'd like to start though, because I actually don't know the answer to this properly, because
Yep.
I wasn't in your full discoveries with you last time.
Yep.
But like, where did this entrepreneurial spirit start? Like, where did it come from?
So
Has it always been there?
So I saw that question, and no, that's not. It's I guess
Yeah.
me thinking I'd be this entrepreneur is not the driver. Never has been. I think setting up a company that gave back and had a sense of purpose, and I could help and I could make decisions without needing approval and follow my own intuition. That's really where this came from. I think I'd spent 10, 12 years in the corporate world.
Yeah.
And I had seen things, I'd had insight, I'd had intuition, I'd tried to sell it to some of the execs in a few different cases. And they'd gone, nah, Scotty, we're going over here. And I'm like, I think there's something over here. And then that had panned out the way I'd thought and would miss the opportunity. So I think the ability to set up something that I could actually follow my gut, and if it didn't work out, it was my fault and it wasn't anyone else's fault. So that's probably
where it all came from.
Probably where it all came from, yeah. I think one of the things, Stanley, is that I never, for many, many years, never saw myself as a CEO. So I always saw myself as a number two. And it was really, I set the company up with another amazing individual called Dave Rothel. And he was really the one that, gave me the kick in the pants to set it up. He wanted to set it up, and off we went. And so I saw myself as a CTO and he was a CEO, right? And then after a few years of making no money, because what we thought we'd set the company up to do and what it ended up doing were two different things, I sort of, I was the only one left, so I had to be the CEO. So it's really, that's how it's grown. It was never really an intent or I want to be an entrepreneur, I want to be the best CEO in the world.
Yeah, and so since that's happened, I mean, because that's quite different to a lot of people who start tech companies. Like, that's a very different story and quite unique. So how did you sort of take that and run with it? Like, how was that pressure and responsibility for you at the beginning?
I think how was the pressure and responsibility for me in the beginning? I think they say 30-40% of CEOs suffer from imposter syndrome, and I think that was very much me for the first few years. Probably still is to a certain extent, which is why I like surrounding myself with wonderful people like Chris and Adam and a lot of the advisors and mentors that we've got. But it was more putting that to the side, and it was more seeing what I saw with the video, seeing the opportunity, wondering why no one else in the world was seeing that opportunity quite the way that I did. And I remember sitting on it for a while thinking, surely someone else is doing this. It can't be Scotty Bain's the only one who's had this idea, but worked with a lot of colleagues I used to work with in Europe and in the States to say, is there anything out there like this? And pretty much the answer came back no. There was the Paris government had done a pilot to connect up cameras, but that was a government funded thing. Whereas the idea that I had was that it was a dual feeding ecosystem. So the police and public safety would, contribute to run the servers, and then the community would contribute to connect, and then it was a bi-directional thing. So I sort of haven't seen that idea yet in the market, and that's really what fueled it. Based on seeing that really bad video of the guy almost getting killed, right? That had a massive impact on me.
Yeah. Tell us about that situation. How did that come about? And you tell us through that a little bit.
Yeah, so I was, so year 3 of the company when we'd pretty much made no money because of, what we thought we wanted to help the market with and what the market wanted to pay for didn't work. I went consulting into a very large Department of Transport, and that was essentially to pull 5 of their systems together into one. And I'd been in there about 3 months, and the head of rail, Ray, a fantastic man, said, come and have a look at this, Scotty. This happened last Friday night, and this poor guy gets off a train with another guy, and the other guy just starts to beat him up. They didn't even know each other. Obviously, one guy just wanted to beat up this other guy and almost killed him. Didn't. Went on for about a minute and a half, 2 minutes, but I saw it, and it really moved me. There was just something very wrong about it, and that was probably the thing I thought, I know how to make a difference here and connect this up to police, and I'm going to do that even if it's interim. Until this big Department of Transport system gets done. This might only last for 6 months, might only last for a year, but we're just going to connect the train network back to police, because I'd heard there was some stuff going on like this on a regular basis. So that's really what started it. I do remember when I met police, that which I'd met about a month or two earlier on. I liked them as people in terms of how they were wired. So they weren't doing it for the money, they were doing it to make a difference. I remember thinking they're good people, and if I can contribute my technical knowledge back into their realm to help them be more efficient and to save lives like that guy that almost died, then that felt pretty good. After everything I'd done around the world up until that point. So so that was really the motivator, rather than I want to be a CEO and I want to be an entrepreneur of a startup. It was just it was the purpose more than anything else.
Yeah, interesting. That's really cool. And I want to talk about that because you've talked about money a few times now, and not being about the money and not having any money those first few years. But like, you had a pretty successful career prior to Safer Cities.
Yep.
And so remuneration of that successful career would have been there. And then you went to a couple of years of making no money starting this thing. How was that experience? Like, how was that with you and the wife and everything? Like, has that would have been some pressure on you to keep that live?
There was. Yeah, there was. And so I was very fortunate. I had a number of great roles in Cisco, the big, large internet company all around the world. And that was fantastic for a little New Zealander out of Hamilton to join a big, highly successful corporate and have the opportunity to work throughout Europe and then in Silicon Valley, which had always been a dream. And those last few years of Cisco financially were very good. I'd sort of moved more into a direct sales role in the last 2 to 3 years, and managed to win some big deals with in collaboration with a fantastic engineer that I had. And so it was time to move on. I'd had enough of corporate, had some money in the bank. Off we go, what are we going to do? And wanted to do something on my own with some good people, build a great company, build a family company with the same values that I enjoyed in a company I worked for before I joined Cisco, which was probably the best boss I've ever had. Was a guy called Grant Smith, and I worked for him from 26 to 30. His sense of integrity, his values, how to do right by customers, how to run the company, how to make everyone feed off each other. I loved my time there, and I loved learning from him, and those are the values and the culture that I've tried to create in Safer Cities.
Yeah, great. That's amazing. And then in those first couple of years, and even the first couple of years of once you started to make money, I suppose, is there anything that you'd change? Like, is there anything you'd do differently now with hindsight that you think, man, I really could have done this better?
Yeah, I probably was more. So we were probably not focused on the money enough. So our sense of purpose to help the police and to help the community was so big. It was at the expense of ourselves. So possibly a bit. I think we've thrown a lot of investment and money into making the product that is Very Good Safer City platform, and we probably could have made that easier on ourselves if we'd just asked for a little bit more money up front to help fund it. But it was that sense of wanting to prove that the vision that I'd had and that Chris Wiggins had been able to help us build was a vision that was executable. And I was very fortunate. I had some amazing police guys, one called Gary Davey, who was the 2IC in Auckland, who obviously saw something in me and the company, but also his boss at the time, Richard Chambers, who's now an assistant commissioner. It was really Richard's belief in me and what we were going to achieve for them that gave us that start. And so we really had 2 years to prove ourselves, and that's really where the platform started.
Yeah, okay. And in that same period of time, and we'll just stick on this for a little bit, like, how was everyone around you, how was everyone else's feelings about you doing this? Like, your family, your friends and things like that. Like, how did they feel about you giving up this amazing career that you had to like chase this purpose-driven thing at that time in your life? Like, what was the sort of feedback you were getting?
Probably just, let's see how Scotty goes. You know, I mean, I think we had 2 years of making $0. And so it was like, is this going to turn into anything eventually? You're earning great money in the corporate world, so why have you done this? Is this actually going to turn into anything? I spoke very highly of Dave Rothall in terms of the co-founder that we started the company off with.
Yeah.
I do remember him challenging me a little bit and saying, this thing you want to do for police and this platform, do you think there's any money in it? Do you think there's a future? And I went, yeah, I do. I've just got a feeling. And he probably at that stage didn't see it. That was around the time that he was leaving to set up another company. So I think, they all say it, you just have to see a vision, believe in that vision, hang in there, and if you're right, it'll turn into something. It's taken a long time.
Yeah.
They say an overnight success is 10 years. It's really taken us 11 to move into the third or fourth gear of the company that we've moved into now. So it's a long journey.
Yeah.
And it's probably harder than staying in a high-paid job in a corporate world.
Yeah.
But I think it's more rewarding when you finally get there.
Yeah.